Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lumpin Vishum. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Monday, the 8th of June. People of Gilgit protest Pakistan-backed provincial polls. Shia Hazara community in Pakistan condemn rise in targeted attacks. And India-Bangladesh look to build ties after historic land swap deal. And now for all the details. The provincial elections in Pakistan's occupied region of Gilgit-Baltistan turned out to be a nominal affair on Monday after several nationalist organizations boycotted the poll, claiming it to be already rigged.
Even though the voting began at 8 a.m. local time, there was hardly any voter turnout even as the day progressed. Out of the nearly 60,000 eligible voters, majority of them abstained from polling to register their protest for the illegal occupation of their homeland by Pakistan. Many nationalist organizations which called for a boycott of the election also held protests. Locals said, despite making tall promises, nothing has been done in the name of development in the region so far.
जो मेंबर मुंतखब हो गए आ गए थे वो आवाम के तवक्कुआत पे पूरा नहीं उतरे हैं, इसलिए इस दफ़ा आवाम में ज़्यादा जोश व खरोश नज़र नहीं आ रहा।
अच्छे पढ़े लिखे नौजवान सामने आए और इनकी नुमाइंदगी करे, क्योंकि जामर में सबसे जो कम तालीमी फुकदान है, सेहत की फुकदान है और डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो रहा है।
Many youth who were protesting against the elections were brutally beaten up by the Pakistan police and taken away to undisclosed locations. A number of nationalist leaders were also taken into detention days before the vote. Many accused that the government is trying to manipulate the elections in its favor.
इस वक्त जमीयत उलमा इस्लाम यामर के चारों हलकों, अस्तोर के हलकों और गिलगित में वाज़ेह फिरक के साथ मैदान अमल में है। अगर हमें दीवार से लगाने की कोशिश की गई और नताइज को तब्दील किया गया तो फिर गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में कोई माई का लाल हुकूमत नहीं करेगा और इस्लामाबाद से बड़ा धरना गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में खासकर शारा कराकुम में दिया जाएगा।
Pakistan, which illegally occupied the region over 6 decades ago, controls the area, claiming that it is in accordance with the UN resolution. However, the election held under Pakistani constitution in Gilgit-Baltistan is illegal as it does not recognize the region as a part of Pakistan, nor is Pakistani law applicable there. Despite the election of a 24-member legislature, it has no practical powers or control over the resources in the region. While Pakistan calls Gilgit-Baltistan a semi-autonomous area, the real powers are vested in a Gilgit-Baltistan Council in Islamabad headed by the Pakistan Prime Minister. India had last week termed the election as Pakistan's move to cover up its illegal occupation there.
Pakistan's Balochistan continued to be tense on Monday, a day after the killing of 5 Shia Hazaras. The southwestern province has seen an increase in targeted attacks, mainly against the religious minorities in recent times.
The Shia Hazaras in Balochistan continue to mourn the killing of 5 members of their community. Shops and other commercial establishments owned by Hazaras in provincial capital Quetta remained closed on Monday as a mark of protest against the continued targeted killings. The latest incident of violence happened on Sunday when unidentified gunmen on motorbikes opened fire at the victims in the outskirts of Quetta. While 4 of them were killed on the spot, another victim succumbed to his injuries in a city hospital. No group has so far claimed responsibility for the act. Following the strike, hundreds of Shia Hazaras took to the streets, holding coffins of the victims and demanding arrest of the culprits. The relatives of those killed said their community was facing genocide and blamed the government for its failure to protect them. Balochistan, which shares its border with Afghanistan and Iran, has been witnessing an increase in targeted attacks on the minorities. More than half a dozen Shia Hazaras were killed in the province in various instances of targeted killings in the previous week alone. Despite the rise in number of attacks and repeated promises by the government, no arrests have been made in any of the cases so far. According to activists, over 1,500 members of the community have been killed in the past 1 decade. Most of these attacks were carried out by Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, a banned Sunni militant outfit which refuses to consider the Hazaras as Muslims.
India and Bangladesh signed key bilateral agreements during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Dhaka visit. The leadership of the two countries underwent a series of deliberations to cement ties. A report.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took efforts to boost ties with Bangladesh to the next level during his visit to the neighbouring country over the weekend. During his 2-day trip to Dhaka, Prime Minister Modi and his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina signed key agreements strengthening bond between the two sides. The highlight of his visit, however, remained the signing of Land Boundary Pact, which had been a dominating issue between the two countries for 4 decades. The agreement clarifies the identities of 52,000 people living in the enclaves, simplifying the nearly 2,500-mile-long border. Prime Minister Modi also assured Bangladesh that his government, along with the support of states, would reach to a solution on the contentious issues concerning Tista River that runs through both nations.
पानी ये राजनीतिक मुद्दा नहीं हो सकता है, पानी ये मानवता के आधार पर होता है, मानवीय मूल्यों के आधार पर होता है और उसको मानवीय मूल्यों के आधार पर समस्या का समाधान करने का प्रयास हम मिलकर के करेंगे, मुझे विश्वास है और रास्ते निकलेंगे, मैं विश्वास दिलाता हूं.
The neighbours also sought to bolster camaraderie in the economic front, with India announcing a $2 billion credit line for Bangladesh. India also agreed to set up a special economic zone in Bangladesh to address trade imbalance.
भारत और बांग्लादेश में ट्रेड डेफिसिट का जो फासला है उसको कम करने में बहुत बड़ी ताकत बन जाएगा. हम नहीं चाहते हैं कि बांग्लादेश हिंदुस्तान से तो माल लेता रहे और बांग्लादेश से कम सामान हिंदुस्तान आए, नहीं, हम बराबरी चाहते हैं.
India and Bangladesh have also agreed to establish power transmission link as New Delhi considered proposal to allow export of additional power to Dhaka. Prime Minister Modi during his visit met opposition leader Begum Khalida Zia apart from top business heads to strengthen economic links between the two nations. The country heads of both sides flagged off the bus service between two Indian cities of Kolkata and Agartala via Dhaka in the presence of West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. Modi also received an award of Liberation War Honour on behalf of former Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee during his Bangladesh trip.
Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has challenged the opposition's move to oust him. This is in retaliation to the no-confidence motion moved against him over alleged political high-handedness.
Amid a looming motion of no confidence, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said that he can be removed only through a parliamentary election. The president had the option of dissolving the parliament. Instead, he sought public mandate to appoint me as a prime minister and have a 100-day government, Wickremesinghe said on Sunday. Sri Lankan opposition led by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa had on Friday filed a no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister, with 112 lawmakers of the 225-member parliament signing it. The motion deals with several matters, including the controversial treasury bond issue surrounding Wickremesinghe and accusing him and his United National Party of political high-handedness. The development may now force President Maithripala Sirisena to hasten the dissolution of the parliament. President Sirisena appointed Wickremesinghe the minority prime minister after he defeated Rajapaksa in the presidential election in January.
Opposition parties in Pakistan say that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's general budget for financial year 2015-16 has failed to address the problems that the country's economy is facing. The latest budget saw an 11% hike on defence spending, but sectors like poverty alleviation and addressing malnutrition were allocated minimal funds. A report.
While the Nawaz Sharif government put up a positive outlook on the economy for the next financial year, it brushed aside major economic problems, structural reforms in the state's taxation and energy apparatus. The budget, which was unveiled on Friday, aims at a growth rate of 5.5%, much higher than the 4.2% achieved in the previous year. From a total of the $42 billion budget, the defense sector was allocated $6.87 billion, nearly 16% of the total spending, after debt services, which got 31%, and the general public services, which has been allocated 28% of the new budget. While education sector gets a meager share of $61.25 million, healthcare got $70.18 million. Even though the salaries for government employees have been increased, there is no proposal to increase tax revenues. Many, including the country's opposition, said the government has failed to address priorities.
7.5% ये सारी कौम फैसला करे इस बिल में, इस महंगाई में 5.5% तनख्वाह, 7.5% और पेंशन में इजाफा, मैं समझता हूँ ये मजाक है.
Lawmakers of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, which is chaired by cricketer-turned-politician Imran Khan, said the budget was only for the rich and influential.
इस वक्त आपकी आबादी का तकरीबन 60% तबका ऐसा है जो गुर्बत की लकीर के नीचे ज़िंदगी बसर कर रहा है और हुकूमत की पॉलिसीज़ में उस गरीब तबकात के लिए रियायत या मराद का कोई पैकेज दिखाई नहीं दे रहा. मजदूर का, लेबर का लफ्ज़ तो इनकी लुगत में है ही नहीं और हाँ, बड़ी बिजनेस को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं.
Many in the civil society also felt that the budget has failed to give any respite to them amid rising inflation.
जिस तरह बाकी चीज़ों में उन्होंने वो बढ़ा दी है, महंगाई बढ़ेगी. बात यह है कि जो आपकी तनख्वाहों में इजाफा है वही महंगाई में एडजस्ट हो जाएगा. गरीब आदमी कहीं सर्वाइव नहीं कर सकता.
Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who came to power with the promise to address the crippling power crisis in Pakistan, has however failed to address the lingering issue in the latest budget too. Even though the infrastructure sector gets a boost in the new budget, this is largely due to the $46 billion economic corridor project backed by China.
U.S. Shadow Secretary Jesse Jackson has requested President Barack Obama to ask Islamabad to remove former Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf's name from the exit control list. The human rights activist, through a letter to President Obama, said that Musharraf must be allowed to avail medical treatment abroad considering his deteriorating health. He also argued that considering Musharraf had helped the U.S. during the 9/11 crisis, it was now time to reciprocate his favors. The former military ruler is prohibited from leaving Pakistan as he stands indicted on several charges, including the assassination of former Pakistan Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, Baloch nationalist leader Nawab Akbar Bukti, and illegal detention of judges during his 9-year-old tenure. Pakistani courts in the past have rejected several appeals to withdraw Musharraf's name from the ECL. Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. People of Gilgit protest Pakistan-backed provincial polls. Shia Hazara community in Pakistan condemn rise in targeted attacks. And India-Bangladesh look to build ties after historic land swap deal. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.